Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Sophia.
We're here in Piccadilly Theatre, where Melissa is one of the stars of Moulin Rouge, and I have been looking forward to this interview. I have watched a little bit of Moulin Rouge the film, but Melissa will tell us all about the musical.
Okay. Well, so nice to meet you, Sophia. I'm so happy that you're here. And it's really exciting to be interviewed about Moulin Rouge and my experience here. So a lot of people know the movie as well known and loved. And yeah, now it's finally here. I feel like years and years ago, everyone was like, oh, surely they're going to turn this into a musical. And they waited until like the year of COVID to be like, yeah, this is happening.
Yeah.
Which is
How
amazing.
long has it been on in the West End?
So we opened in the West End. It was towards the end of the year, 2021.
2021.
Yeah, so we went through a whole process of like casting the show through, kind of started just before COVID and then through the COVID times. So yeah, we're just coming up towards the end of year 2 in London.
So you went through that whole experience just beginning of lockdown?
Yeah, so it kind of was going in different stages. There was a lot of people who kind of did preliminary rounds of auditions, and they kind of did it in stages. I think they were at one point they were looking for certain roles first, and then ensemble dancers, etc., and then obviously, depending on what was going on with COVID and different lockdowns, there had to be pauses within the audition process, and then they would start again and start auditioning. Like for example, for me, my process didn't start until March 2021.
Right.
Yes.
So literally that was just when we were going into lockdown.
Yeah. Which was really interesting. It was such a weird time because at that point theatre was completely closed. It was like, okay, so how do we continue?
Had you heard that you'd gotten the role? Had you heard? Yeah.
Oh, so when the whole pandemic broke out, I was doing Mamma Mia at the Novello Theatre. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were doing the shows and it was still that whole thing of like, make sure you wash your hands, sing happy birthday, all these things, not really knowing what it was.
Yeah.
And then I remember going to work, doing the show as normal, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, we have to close because obviously the government announced that they thought it was best that they couldn't tell people to close the theatres, but they were like, they advised people not to go, so we had to close. It was such a strange feeling because I'd already come into work, I was getting ready to do the show, and then it was like the show can't happen.
And we all thought it was going to be 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. Oh god,
yeah.
It was really strange.
Stop the spread. We're just doing 2 weeks to stop.
It's really strange. I went home. I really just wanted to see my dad, and then I thought, it's all good. I was like, I could do with a rest.
Yeah,
it'd be okay, you know. Yeah. And at one point, I thought, just 3 weeks or maybe just a couple of months, enjoy the summer, months. Sometimes we don't really get many holidays and things like that for ourselves. So took it as a sign that the universe was like, okay, have a little break. It's all going to be okay. And then as time went on, it just became more and more evident, like, oh no, this is a real thing, and it's going to go on for a long time. And at that point, I'd already been cast in another show for a summer production at Chichester Festival Theatre for South Pacific. And obviously that wasn't going to happen. So they're like, we're definitely going to do it, but it's going to be next year, summer 2021. So I knew that I had some hopefully secure job in a year's time, but then beyond that, I didn't know what was going to happen. And this is.
But did actors get coverage, or did you get compensated?
The lovely furlough that everyone's like, surely you've been furloughed.
No furlough for actors.
No furlough for actors. It's a weird thing because we're kind of down still as self-employed, even though we're employed by a company and you've got a contract for a year. It was still, for tax purposes and things like that, classed as self-employed. And basically, as I said, at that point, I was in contract with Mamma Mia, but I was going to be finishing my contract in May and we closed in March. So it was just, we had a little buffer to kind of help us when we thought we might be going back for a little bit. And after, it's just contract terminated on your own.
Wow. Yeah. This is why I think actors are great people to talk to. I will come back to that, but tell us a little bit about your role here in Moulin Rouge. You play Arabia?
Well, I cover a few different roles. Oh. So I'm in the ensemble, so I'm one of the can-can dancers, but I cover 2 or 3 different roles in the show. In the course of my time here, it's kind of changed with each year. So the first year I covered just Satine and Le Chocolat, which is one of the Lady M's. Mm-hmm. And this year I still cover Satine, but I cover another Lady M, which is Arabia, which I've been playing a lot at the moment.
Oh my God. So do you have to know everybody's
Yes.
mind? And then within short notice?
Yeah, within short notice. You know, we have a certain kind of sick phone time, so if people are not feeling well, or, you know, obviously people have to have holidays, then, you know, you have to cover them for those roles. And then someone from the swing team, which are people who learn all the ensemble dancer tracks within the show, they will cover my track. Right. So it's all a puzzle. Wow. It's all a puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really incredible.
Yeah.
So I was saying to you, honestly, you guys have to, I think they have to see how amazingly fit you look.
You have to be for Moulin Rouge. A lot of can-can kicks, jump into splits, you name it. Oh my God. Which was daunting, especially coming from COVID, thinking, okay, I've booked this amazing job, and now I'm like, I haven't danced in so long. I've been dancing in my living room.
Were you like us regular people? Did you bake and just put on a lot of weight?
Of course. Of course. You know, I was so used to every day doing something physical as part of my job, you know, like, and then just going to like 0, nothing. So I was just, you know, trying to make sure I was doing my daily walks, lots of yoga, trying to do fitness classes online, and occasionally I was doing some teaching of some dance workshops and stuff online, just anything to try and keep myself fit.
See, that's not the average person. I tried in the beginning, you know, like I was cruising, skipping with my daughter in the park. I got tired very quickly. I literally put on 2 dress sizes that I think I'm still working on.
It's a process. It's a process. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you know, your whole environment, you guys, is just pushing you to make sure that you are in your utmost physical and mental too, right?
Yes.
Because again, talking about your now different characters that you play, how do you mentally prep for these characters? How do you, because some of your most sexy.
Yeah. It feels like the opposite of me. Yeah, it's really bizarre. And people ask me all the time, like, you don't know how you do it. Like, for example,
the people who know you in real life.
Even the people that I work with.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in the beginning of July, I had some Satine shows. Satine is the main lead of the show. It's all about her. It's a big responsibility. And I hadn't done it for 6 months. But I don't know, it's this thing that I kind of try and put them in different boxes.
Okay.
Obviously have things written down. Everyone has their different methods that works for them, but like kind of like bullet points to check over things. We have access to videos of the show, so every now and then it's my responsibility as a cover, you know. So I just refresh when I can.
Yeah,
you know,
because you have advance notice.
Sometimes it's on the day. Sometimes it can happen just before the show starts. Sometimes it can happen within a show.
And then how do you mentally prepare for that?
You don't. You just
you trust like, because you have the training.
Yes. It's one of those things like, you know, obviously if you know in advance, like for example, how it will work today, we have a 1 show day. We have a sick phone time. People have to call off if they're not feeling okay to do the show by 2 o'clock.
Right.
And then we get like a little casting list that comes through on a WhatsApp group. We love the WhatsApp group, so many, around 2:30, and that would give us like, you know, the scope of what the show is looking like today, who's playing who, etc., etc. But you know, things can happen at any point. You know,
wow. Is it like a typical WhatsApp group? Are there like, do people vent in your WhatsApp group?
We really have a separate cast WhatsApp group. Have a management one and then a cast one, but yes, of course, you know, it's not just official stuff. It's sometimes lots of positive, funny things that we might share. But yeah, sometimes you have like a few hours notice if you're lucky. You go, okay, now I know I'm going to be on for this person today. Haven't done it for a while. Maybe I'll have a look at a few different videos, go through my notes, have a little practice at home, or I'll come into work a bit earlier and just like, kind of calm myself. So I think the main thing is just remaining calm, trusting that you have everything there, you have all the tools, not be scared to ask questions, because sometimes things evolve as well and change.
So the role?
Yeah, it can do. Like, especially from year to year, we have different people coming in and out. So they might adjust certain things. So it's just allowing yourself to be open, especially when you're playing with different people on stage. There's no right or wrong, and we're not robots, right?
Right.
And that's
so every actor will play the same role differently, bring the same energy, which is one of the things actually I wanted to talk about, was also, how now everybody's talking about the role of AI. I actually think theatre actors are a bit more protected than screen actors, because how can you replicate the energy that you can bring to a show?
Exactly. And I hope we are protected, because I mean, just in general, I think it's a ridiculous concept. Like,
who wants to watch an AI Morgan Freeman?
Exactly. It's all about, when you're looking at stuff like that, it's people who are emulating human experiences, right? So you want to hear that and feel that from a human. Like, even just facial expressions. Someone's, you could watch a movie or anything like that, and just without them even saying anything, they can express so much and make you feel a certain way. Like, and for me, live theatre, there's nothing like it, because
that exchange of energy.
Yeah, the exchange of energy, things can go wrong.
See,
like,
the thing is, we as the audience never
but
really
you would
know.
never ever know. You don't. Like, if you're doing a movie or TV stuff, something goes wrong, cut, start again. Cut and paste to whatever.
Are there any clues we should be looking out for that alert us to, that was a mess up? Because a lot of times we're just enjoying the show. We don't know.
Sometimes we can get the giggles.
Oh, really?
Depending on what it is, which is really difficult. I feel like everyone has that person at work sometimes, and it's just like, if you lock eyes with that person, that's it. Right. So it's just trying to cover that up as much as possible. But it's part of our job.
So much fun to think of.
Yeah, things go wrong. Sometimes I have moments like your mind, for whatever reason, has just drifted off. I've had the moments when I've been on stage and it's not my bit yet. You're coming up and I'm like, okay, I've got to start singing this bit, and I'm like, I don't know if I remember.
And then what?
And then my body just kicks in.
Right. When it's your turn.
Yeah, so again, it's that thing of trusting. That you've done all the work and the training, your own homework. That you're taking care of your responsibility, what it is.
Do you cover for each other in cases like that?
Yeah, of course. And what's so amazing, as I said, from learning all these different roles, I have such an awareness of the whole show. Like, I know it so well. So even if I knew someone tripped up, if there's a way I could help them, I probably could, because you just kind of, I don't just learn my stuff and it's like tunnel vision. Like, okay, it's about what I have to do as Melissa. It's very much a team effort. So because things happen. Because
we, I think, get the impression that actors and actresses, especially in the theatre, it's cutthroat. You want, it's how it's portrayed in movies, right? You want her to trip, you want the girl to trip up that you don't like, and then you're all for the same roles. It's not like that.
No. And I think, I think it more and more, especially through COVID times and stuff, it's like everyone's leading with a bit of kindness, which is really wonderful. And just knowing, again, no right or wrong. Different people could portray the same role in so many different ways, and I think that's such a thing that should be embraced. Like, everyone that works here in this show, all the people who cover the different parts, never play it the same. Everyone brings something different.
And you love how the other person plays it.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice, like watching other people and going, I never thought about it that way. They're saying exactly the same words but with a different intention, and you're like, I might try that, I might steal that. Which is such a compliment, actually, when you think about it. And it's never this air of a competition. It's just like, this is the version of the show that we have tonight. And actually, that worked, or that didn't work.
That's
and
so
playing with each
to
other.
Think.
Yeah.
How did you get that feeling? Just like now walking, I was saying to Melissa, walking through the board, and they have a board full of all the people that work here. And I was thinking, this is like a family.
Thank you so much for taking me behind the show and just sharing all this.
Of course.
This is their family.
But But then what must goodbyes be like? When
Oh gosh, it's horrible.
yeah.
The end of the first year, I was crying throughout the whole show.
Oh.
And every time I had moments where I thought, okay, I'm okay now. As I said, like when you find you certain people that you look at and they're crying, sets you off.
Oh, so but you guys are all like, sometimes you'll all be sad knowing this is the person's last show?
Yes, of course. Yeah, you know, because I don't think sometimes people realize how much work and effort and tears and sweat and sometimes blood that goes through putting up a show, especially one like this. As I said, because it was COVID, I don't know if that makes it extra special when we first put it on, because it was like, it was the first big show coming back from COVID and everyone was so excited, like, oh, Moulin Rouge is coming, when's it going to come because of COVID, who's going to be in it? Like thousands of people applied for this job, thousands upon thousands, everybody wanted this job. It was like the one to get.
It sold out so many nights, and actually I know people who've seen it 3-4 times, and when I said I was going to be interviewing it, they said, you haven't watched it, are you crazy? That is the most spectacular show in the West End. So I'm so excited.
But it takes a lot of time, effort, a whole team, everyone backstage, the creative team, like, you know, one little element missing, the whole thing can fall apart. So it's not just about the actors on stage at all.
Oh, that's so beautiful to think, because again, just I've only ever worked in like offices and corporate world, and you know, you're lucky to have a team that you love, and you never forget the teams, you know, the women who are there for you, and just to think that that's what you guys have in a lot of shows, and that you're there for each other. It's completely opposite to what we're led to believe the creative industry.
Of course, you know, with every theatre and different shows, it brings a different energy. Like, for example, I could give you one that is a bit of a weird setup. Like, I did Hairspray many years ago, just because of the elements of the show with segregation. It felt right from the beginning that in rehearsals we were separated.
So that it could bring that energy into the show.
Yeah, but also it made it really difficult then when we were going on the road and we want to try and build bonds with each other, because, you know, especially when you're touring with each other all the time, you've left your family behind or your good friends. You're going all over the UK and don't know anything or anyone. It was sometimes then was really hard to kind of
dissociate from the character.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
But we were really good at it. We made sure we made such an effort to be like, you know, we might have rehearsals when it's like, I don't see you for the whole day, but then be like, okay, let's all go out for a drink. Let's all, you know, really try to get
outside of the work
to know each other. Yeah.
So then, how do you shed a character? Let's say you don't always get to play a character that you love, admire, and respect with. Let's say.
Yeah, of course.
So then, if you're playing a character that you don't like, or do you have to like the character you're playing?
So that's such an interesting question. I've never had that before. I don't know if it's about liking. I think, again, it is about putting yourself in a space and going, okay, this is not Melissa now.
Okay.
I'm an actor, so I'm putting myself in that space. And even if it's something that I'm like, I don't quite understand why they would think that way or why they have this kind of views, just to kind of, you know, I really love to really go through a script and try and analyze it and just, you know, I make little bullet points. I love to write things down. I'm quite old school like that. Go things and dissect it. And again, no right or wrong. And just kind of go, okay, even if I have to make up another story for myself, of like maybe something in the past that's really bad has happened to them that's made them this way.
Yeah.
To try and understand it, or try to bring up things within my life, or even people that I know that go, oh, okay, maybe if I think of it in this way, like as much as they might be a character that you don't really associate with or like, you can find an understanding.
Let's say Satine, you're playing Satine. Tell us a bit about that role and what, for example, you've learned from it personally.
Satine is such a complex character. I mean, I think it's probably one of the best characters I've ever had the opportunity to play. Amazing opportunity, such a big role. I see her show as a complete marathon. Once she's on, that's it. You know, like every time she leaves the stage, it's just to change her clothes, and then she comes back on and she's wearing a different outfit. It's amazing. All her costumes are divine.
Wow.
Like, I love it.
You get to be a girl full on, all the
full
time.
on, you know, to the point when you're like, I actually haven't even had a chance to see what I look like, but I know I feel fabulous. Anyway, so it's great. So, but she has so many layers, you know, you've got the Satine, you know, the showman, they're kind of like, oh, you know, she's a sparkling diamond. That's what people come to see. She's the headliner of the club, you know, but she also has this really big responsibility because of that, that everyone looks up to her. She's got to really help, you know, the club is losing money. They're at the last legs, you know, everything could be crumbling down. And she kind of has to step up and go, okay, kind of that big sister role for everyone, take it seriously and go, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes. The stakes are high.
It's riding on me.
Yeah, it's riding on me. And we don't really have much information about her family background. All that's mentioned in the show is that she was found by Lautrec and the Bohemians, literally just like he said, she was like an alley cat begging for scraps in the street. She's come from nothing and she's built her way up, you know, to a point where people are idolizing her, putting up on this pedestal. That's a huge responsibility. And actually inside, she's just probably still that scared little girl. That's kind of...
So you have to be powerful, vulnerable, all at once.
All at once, you know, but she has to know when she has to switch it on and play it, and, you know, for certain people to get what she wants. But then it's also this thing of like, she doesn't have a moment to think about and care about what she wants or feels or that she needs or wants to do. It's all about looking after everyone else, which is
just very giving, very compassionate.
Yes.
Which a lot of women probably feel like that. They feel lost. And you do relate to this sense of, you know, just being somebody who is always thinking about other people, you know, your role as a sibling, your role as a daughter, you know, we're brought up that way.
Yes.
So have you been able to reflect on how you can, you know, change things for yourself?
As a woman? Oh, that's really, really hard. I mean, again, going back, I don't want to keep talking about the pandemic too much, but like, you know, it is very, very important.
Because I think actually we haven't processed it.
We
act like we didn't go through anything.
Believe me, I know so many friends, especially right now, which is bizarre, that's going through this moment of like, I really haven't processed it, and a lot of them are processing it now. It's really, really difficult.
Yes.
It feels like, you know, because it happened and we just had to get on with it and we tried to make it positive, and then we get to the point and it's like, okay, now we're back in business and work.
Yeah.
And then finally we get to the point of like, okay, so we're back to normal, but what is normal?
Yes,
and it's
completely changed, but we don't know in what ways really, because we haven't had that. Because I mean, it's even reflected in what you're saying, which is, you know, I don't want to go back to that. It's like everybody seems to have this sense, but like I've talked to people who weren't able to bury their dads. They weren't able to say goodbye to their grandparents. I mean, if you had nothing happen to you and all you did was, you know, collect a few paychecks and sit out in the sun. Imagine if you lived through the uncertainty like that actors lived through, not knowing if really it would come back, and if it would, for how long would it take for it to be full capacity? Would you be cancelled soon? You guys already live with that, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So please tell me more.
Yeah. And you know, before all of that, we were already in an industry when it's very, you know, you could be in a hot show 1 minute and then it's over and you don't have anything for how many months, you don't know what's next, you know. We're always, so maybe in a way that's kind of prepared us for something like the pandemic, to be like, okay,
another uncertainty,
what's, you know, another uncertainty, what's, you know, stillness. But also it's just kind of giving yourself that space and time to be still and go, okay, what's really important? Which is really, really difficult sometimes when you're involved in such a big show like this, because you have to give so much of yourself.
Yeah, there is nothing left.
Yeah. It's you know, I'm going to be very transparent. It's exhausting at times.
Physically, emotionally, mentally.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It's exhausting, but it's totally worth it to see the audience reactions and see people still want to come and see it. We have fans who have seen, oh God, some of them have come to the show 2-3 times in a week.
There are actors the ones who take their work seriously, they speak for us, sometimes more than politicians, if I'm honest, in the roles that you guys are doing, and that whole importance of person comes to a show, they're paid £50, and for a couple of hours, they're just able to put their problems aside and see someone who's trained physically. Wow.
Yes.
That's what
and it works for us too, like you can have so many other things going on in your life and you just go, okay, when I get to work and I reach that stage door, I get to pretend to be someone else for a few hours and put that aside. And sometimes it can really lift your spirits. But, depending on the characters, like, again, going back to Satine, she has to go through such a roller coaster of emotions. Like, and ultimately, I don't think I'm, spoiling it for people because most people have seen the movie, she dies. That's quite a big thing to kind of
live every
single day. Melissa James, who plays it at the moment, I don't know how she does it every day.
See, these are things we don't think about.
Yeah,
we don't think of what impact is it having on this actor who's constantly, and I speak as somebody literally now on my phone. I've filmed a couple of times, a few people I've interviewed have had loved ones pass away. And because of my own fear of death, I find it really hard to post what I want to post. So the thought that you guys you don't have an option, which is for me, I'm not going to post it. I'm too emotionally exhausted. I don't want to think about this right now. And I just don't post. You have to be on that stage, dying every day and confronting something that is the hardest thing for us as humans, mortality.
And sometimes you have to put yourself, like we were saying, how do you sort out the different roles and remember or associate yourself with a character. You have to delve into things that's happened to you personally, in order to get the right thing across. Like, I lost my mum just over 5 years ago. So for me,
just been a couple of years before.
Yeah, so 2018, quite suddenly. In the end, she had stomach cancer, but we didn't know. But it happened all quite quickly. So that changes you a lot. It changes you a lot. And now, every time when I get to a chance to play something like Satine and have to die, it's that thing of like, I kind of have to almost hone in bits of like my mum, but try and hold back to a point when I won't break, which is really difficult. But in some strange way, it's therapeutic. It's almost a way of me not reliving the experience. It sounds weird to say that, but just because she's having that role, as I said, she's kind of like the sister role, trying to look after everyone. Like, it emanates my mom in a way. I think of that, you keep pushing and churning for everyone, and then she's going through this whole thing. We all have that relationship with our mothers or whoever we have as a mother figure. It could be your father, it could be your auntie, whoever that person, your caretaker. Which is such a beautiful thing. And I think, I also, way back when, had such a fear when it came to things like death. I think it's things that we just don't even talk about. And
in my culture, we talk about it all the time.
Oh,
but
really?
Yeah, I've always had a fear of it. Like, even to the reason why I think now I'm 46, everyone around me is starting to lose their parents, my uncles, and it's just so hard for me. Like, every night I'm talking to my mom. But my thing is, I've had this fear since I was a child. Since I was a little girl, I always was scared of losing a parent or losing a sibling. So it's incredible to me. How did you get through that?
It was really, really, really difficult. And everyone will experience grief in different ways. There's no A to Z. You can read all the books you want. You can listen, talk to people.
Because you still have to honor your mother too.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm still dealing with grief. It doesn't go away. That's the only thing I can say to people. Like, grief, it doesn't disappear. It just goes through different stages. And there's a moment of when you go, okay, I've accepted it now. And once you get to the acceptance kind of stage, it's a different kind of
pain.
Yeah, different kind of pain. But it's all the first, like the first Christmas without them, the first birthday, booking a job like this, and the first person I would have called would be my mom,
But you believe that she's able to.
I feel her around all the time. I'm a bit
Yeah.
maybe spiritual in that sense, you know, like I often feel, and theatres are very good for that, I find there's a lot of spirits in theatres, and actually we have a theatre ghost here who's quite famous, Evelyn. There's actually a picture of her. She was an actor here, and during lockdown I think there was a lot of different things that were going on when the theatre was closed that couldn't be explained. We had videos and stuff moving around, but she's a friendly ghost. We like her.
A friendly ghost.
We like
she
her.
And I'm an actor in a show here.
Yes, there's a picture of her downstairs acting in a play. So every now and then if I pass here, I always just say hi to her. And I always used to do the thing and be like, give us strength for the show and look after us. Yeah, because she likes the show. She doesn't give us any trouble. But in the past, there's been stories of her causing havoc sometimes with certain shows. If she doesn't, yeah.
Do you think she gets jealous of?
Maybe,
she wishes
or she just
could...
doesn't like the feel of the show. She's just like, this is boring. But she likes Moulin Rouge.
She was an actress.
Yes. I don't know. I think it's one of those things. I always hoped there'd be something past death, but don't really know. And I think since experiencing that with my mum, like just seeing little signs, and again, it could be just all in my brain, but whatever it is, it brings such a comfort.
I like to think it's not.
Yeah, I like to think it's not. You know,
yeah, life can't possibly. This can't be it.
Yeah.
You know?
It could be certain, little things like something funny has happened in the show, and I'm like, oh, that's Mum, she's saying hi. Sometimes we have, confetti falling from the ceiling, and all of a sudden, just one is not supposed to come yet. Just one is just floating right in front of you. Oh, that's smart. Little so things like that. Yeah,
them, right?
Yeah.
I really believe that, honestly. It's, I know so many friends who are definitely going through this at the moment. And in the last few years, I mean, my mom used to call me during lockdown, and I used to say, I don't want to, let me have my coffee without you telling me the death count on CNN. As actors, you have to be pretty adaptable, right? You can't really have, you're not a computer scientist. I am going to go work for Microsoft for 5 years, and you can't really build your 10-year life plan, or do you build something?
It's interesting. Like, I think in general in life, we shouldn't be building
life plans.
Wow. And I think, again, pandemics taught us that, things can change all the time. I love making lists and like this thing, and I'm not saying just go on a whim and whatever and hope for the best. But I think when you have a plan, there should always be A, B, C, and D.
Yes.
And things evolve, and you evolve as a person. Things that I wanted or I had on my list 10 years ago, I couldn't care less about now.
Can you talk to us about what some of those things are that you now find so frivolous?
I don't know, like, I'm in my late 30s now, so I don't teach, but
like I was going to say, actually.
So, like, certain things, especially as a woman, just like being really conscious about how people perceive you. How do I look? And especially in the industry that we're in, when everything's, a lot of it is about how you look and how you hold yourself.
But it helps to look like this,
But depending on like what's coming, you might not fit into that mold. There might be certain things that are around, like
and there was someone really big and voluptuous, or you're right.
Yeah, it comes in wafts and waves, and I think it's changing more and more now to make it a wider spectrum for different kinds of people, which I think is wonderful. We need to do that more and more. And sometimes castings might come up and be like, oh, they like to see you for this, and now I'm at a point when I'm feeling so in my power to be like a bit more noticed. I'm like, that's not me. I'm not going to go in for that. Why would I do that? Take up the space of someone who should be in that room. That would.
What if you really want the role, though?
Yeah, but I think there's
you feel like there are roles that are for certain people.
So maybe that's a difference in terms of like my 20s to now. In my 20s, it's all about, you want to do this, this, and this, and this, and this show because it looks amazing, and you want to have this big CV. And now for me, it's more about, okay, connections with the material that I'm doing.
Right.
Like, because before it'd be like, oh, it's just about booking a job. But then people don't realize once you've booked it, you have to do it every day, sometimes twice a day, So you have to really have a love for it. You have to be able to find something new every day to keep it fresh.
But for young actors, would you say you will get to that place and everything's kind of like every chapter? I tell moms this all the time, where, when my daughter was younger, I wouldn't be able to do this, in this way anyway. If she's 2 years old, then, I used to have to drag her to things. So you can't really compare your life to anybody. But you're in an industry where, do you feel that you are being constantly forced to compare yourselves? Or
oh yes, of course, all the time.
Right.
All the time, because you book one job and then you get to a certain point when you feel comfortable and like having fun, and then you're like, the contract's nearly finished, now to think about the next one. And then you have to put yourself back in those rooms again. It's like you're starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And it's that weird thing in most other industries. You start at a base level and then you work your way up and you get promoted and promoted and promoted.
Yes.
And things, go upwards.
Yes.
When in our industry, you can be a lead in one show, and then in the next show you're a dancer. And not to say that there should be a big divide, but there kind of is a hierarchy. You really get to a point when you have to start from scratch again, like with everyone else. You still have to go through the whole audition process like everyone else. You don't just get offered jobs like that.
So you say you can't have an ego as an actor, like the ego works against you. So for example, I'm just thinking of like a film actor. Let's say you're Denzel, but there's maybe a supporting role that you feel like actually this offers me a more like meaty.
Yeah, I mean, I can only really talk more from a theatre perspective because it is very different from TV acting and film acting. And of course, Denzel, you're going to get to a certain point and you're going to have an agent that's telling you, okay, now we're only going for the big stuff and that's it, So it is really hard, and we do all have an agent. I have a really great woman agent. I really wanted to have a strong woman looking after me. She knows me really well and we discuss everything. So, we check in often, we make sure that we're on the same wavelength. And if something comes up that I'm not quite sure, that I'm like, we sit and we talk about it. And if I still don't feel right, then I don't have to do it.
That's another thing I wanted really to ask you. Yeah. How has life changed? You're a beautiful young woman. Have things changed since Me Too? You feel women are more protected?
I think so, to a certain extent, and it's so interesting, and I don't know why it's taking so long for this to come about, and it is this weird thing, especially in theatre as well. I feel like there's this preconception of like you come into a job and everything's lovey-dovey and huggy, kissy, but not everyone's comfortable with that, and I'm one of those people. I find it very strange sometimes to start. We have a first day, and generally a first day we consist of everyone coming together in a huge circle, and we'll all be like, everyone step forward, say your name, what you're doing in the show. I hate it so much. It's it's so embarrassing. Yeah, because actually in real life I'm quite shy. I'm quite an introvert.
They say that about actors. That they're actors who are actually the opposite of. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'll give you a good example. Because people go, how can you be shy? You up every day, like thousands of people watching you. One of my really good friends got married recently, and I was her maid of honor. I had the privilege of doing that, and she wanted me to do a speech. I was so nervous, so nervous, because it's me going up as Melissa. When I'm on stage, I'm playing someone else.
Okay. Yeah, it's someone else's lines. You get to embody.
Yeah.
Okay.
You put a different costume on, a different wig and makeup. It really sets you into this different level and different person.
Is that why do you think you're able to comfortably play any role? Is because you're actually present, and maybe you have to be egoless to be an actor, to embody different.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And it's just, don't get me wrong, it's still really difficult at times. Like, especially in a show like this, we have these gorgeous corsets and everyone's expecting to be up there and sexy. And some days I really don't want anyone to be looking at me. We all have days like that where you're feeling
100%.
bloated and you feel like, spots will come up. I just like, I don't want
And it's that time of the month for us.
Exactly. Oh my God, it's awful when everything's squeezing in the places that we don't want it to squeeze.
It's like sports women.
Exactly.
People don't think about that.
Yeah, we're like athletes.
Yeah.
Especially the dancers in the show. It's intense. It's
I
really
never
intense.
thought of that.
Yeah, but you have to go out there and do you're having the best time ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we don't, of course we do, but we're all human and we have moments when
and that's so refreshing to know that, because everyone can relate to that.
Yeah. But I think it's more and more now about embracing, and what I worked on definitely in the last few years is about having my own voice.
Yes.
And not being scared to speak up or question something.
How do you do that? If you have a powerful director, the role you really want, he's incredible, you need the security. How would you say should women find that voice to say, you know what, can we work on this role in this way? I'm not comfortable, going this far.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And what's really beautiful, and they definitely put it in place here, is that we'll have certain things when we're rehearsing and we would talk through it first, and then, hopefully you have a lovely fellow actor that would be like, okay, would you be alright if am I okay to touch you? Things like that, and make sure that everyone is feeling comfortable within the space, and have a discussion and do something that actually that felt really uncomfortable, and go, okay, so why is that, and what can we do to kind of cross that bridge? Of course, there's certain things that they want to have certainly have to do, but I think it's just not being scared to question something. And I actually think directors admire you more for questioning things. It shows, again, because we're trying to reveal human experience, we're not robots, so why wouldn't you question it,
right? And do you guys have intimacy coordinators like they do on TV now and film?
I know in a lot of different theatre projects I've heard that happening more and more. We haven't had with that necessarily here.
It's because you kind of all know each other, right?
But it's interesting. I feel like for certain things it would be benefit. I think it's something that we should have everywhere for certain stuff.
Yeah.
And again, it's going back to this whole Me Too thing. It's that feeling of everyone just expects that we're going to come in and it's just it's okay to touch you here, or say certain things and blah, blah, blah. I think there's a bit more of a
especially if you're playing certain types of roles, right?
Yeah,
and you're young.
Yes, exactly. So people might see you in a certain way on stage and then meet you after and expect you to have that same demeanor, or think it's okay to touch you. I mean, I had
audience members normally. Yeah,
I had an experience here.
Tina Turner.
Yeah, wow. I had an experience here that really kind of shook me a little bit, and I know some other company members have had the same thing. So at the beginning of the show, we have a pre-show before it starts, when we're just walking around. So it's as soon as you walk in, it's you're in the club, which is beautiful.
Oh, wow.
So bringing people in, and we go through audience and things like that. And I remember there was one time I was going through, and then I had to come up actually to where we are here, and into one of the cages. So we had to go through the audience. And we always have someone with us, just to make sure that
security.
And this one person just touched me from on my back. But almost at the point I turned, so I thought, the way the person touched me, I thought it was someone that I knew, that was just oh my God, I'm watching the show, hi.
So intimate, yeah.
And it was just a random stranger, and was just hi, all this stuff. And I was just oh, no, I had to literally be no, that's not okay, and carry on and do my job. But it really,
especially because you're wearing such a revealing outfit.
Yes, exactly.
The fact that somebody wouldn't be sensitive to know. You can't just put your hands on people.
No, exactly. I don't know if it's an entitlement thing to think, I paid how much for my ticket, so you're here to perform for me, so I can do whatever because you're passing me. And it's very, very strange. There's still some things that are a little bit blurred with things like that. Or sometimes you hear people might say certain stuff, and they think that you can't hear. And it's actually, I'm a human being. I can hear you.
That's so
I can hear you.
It's there should be etiquette rules for how you can go to a show and treat. It's sad that you have to say that, right?
Exactly.
You would imagine every adult at some point picks up on these things.
Yeah.
But then again, just looking back in the last few years, when the stories that came out and all these actresses who felt completely disempowered to speak up for themselves and felt bullied, and it shows you. But I worry sometimes that not enough is being done to secure things for a new generation of young women.
Yeah, there's still so much work to do for women and for men. You know, it happens on both sides. It happens on both sides.
Yeah.
You know, and it's that constant thing of like, you've got to be pleasing somebody. You're always trying to impress someone because you never know what they might be casting next. You know, it's that thing. So you always, you know, told from the beginning, like, you have to be, you know, impressionable and agreeable to everything. And, you know, like questioning would be a negative, but I don't see it as a negative. You know, it's just, I guess it's just a way, it's finding ways of doing it.
Right.
It's finding ways of doing it.
Yeah. There should be training courses for, especially for young actors. Is there such a thing that tells them if you're uncomfortable, you can address this? You know, kind of how when you go to a company, HR do an induction.
Yeah.
That tells you, you know.
Again, more places are trying to implement more HR kind of things and people that we can reach out to if we want to talk to someone separate about certain stuff. But, you know, we have company management, we have stage management. So, you know, these are all people in roles that you could go to if you have a problem and speak to.
It's not like there's just one all-powerful person.
No.
Yeah.
No. We have a few different people around.
What have you learned for yourself over the years that has helped you hone in on your own voice?
I think it's just, again, that element of trust, of there's no right or wrong. That you can learn a lot from people just saying what you think might be completely insignificant can mean a lot to someone else in you. Sometimes, like, I've had so many experiences, again, in the last few years, because I never used to be that person. I'll be the one that's kind of just like very observant, a bit quiet. And now I'm very much like, okay, I don't know about anyone else, but this is how I feel. And most of the time, guaranteed, you're saying something on behalf of other people because you know that they feel too scared to. They go, oh, you know, it would jeopardize my job. What if this and this happens? And it's like, no, you need to stand up for what's right for yourself.
Is that a 30s thing, do you think? Or did you have a little bit of that in your 20s?
I think it's mainly a 30s thing, and also just working a bit more myself. Like I've had stages when I've had a life coach, therapy, things like that. That's made it easier for me to open up. And I still get moments, don't get me wrong, when sometimes I say stuff and I'm like, oh, I question myself all the time and go, oh God, should I have said it in that point, or should I have said it in that way? Did I come across like this? And then I go, no, because you were speaking your truth. And as long as you're speaking your truth, I don't think you can go wrong.
Especially, I think, in a career like this, where the more you're able to bring out that voice, the more it influences everything you do. I wanted to talk about your self-care habits. You know, this is a demanding role. Actually, just life in theatre in general is very demanding. What are self-care habits that we can take and maybe implement in our own lives that you want to share?
Hydrate.
Water
is so important. That's another thing that I had to really train myself to do. When I was younger, a lot younger when I first started training, I was really bad with water. Now I'm like, first thing in the morning, water, always. And I try to like have as much water as possible in the beginning of the day. It sets you up right. You feel it in your body. Yes. By the time, but then
isn't that point where you can't really do that? You're gonna be, but then you get a break.
You get a break. But yeah, I know what you mean. And you always have to use the bathroom, which is another problem.
But your body also gets used to being hydrated. Like if you're drinking constantly, after a while, I think you need it less.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to do it first thing in the day. So like if I don't have a lot going on in the morning, if I top up my hydration then, and I don't have much time then later on or during the show, I'm still
at least you
hydrated well. Yes, exactly. Because of course during the show you can't drink loads of water. Sometimes you don't have enough breaks for that, or then you like if I need a bathroom, that's it. There's nothing worse than being on stage and needing the toilet and, you can't for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than that. So, it's hydrating, just finding moments of mindfulness, sometimes even just simple things like washing the dishes in silence. I find that very therapeutic.
Oh, I would love that one.
Do my makeup, sometimes I try to do that in silence as well.
Okay.
It just really
instead of like playing music or
try not to have too many distractions. And we all know the phone is a big distraction, right? So I'm really trying at the moment, because there was a point when I was feeling like it was getting a lot with my phone again, to try not to look at my phone, especially first thing. Don't do it. I try to get more into a rhythm of journaling. One of my sisters got me a really nice journal for my birthday recently, so that's got me back into practice. Just, writing a few things first thing in the morning and before I go to bed at night, just to kind of reflect, see where I'm at today, what do I think I might need, how am I feeling.
And at the end of the night?
And at the end of the night before I go to sleep as well, like how was my day, what did I think was a big distraction for me, any final thoughts before I go to sleep.
I love that.
Which has been really,
because it's
helpful.
almost like it's kind of therapy, isn't it, to go through that. One of the things I've been trying to do is to literally imagine my next day before it happens. And I really need to start journaling. That's a good one.
And just making sure that you check in with your circle. I think it's really, really important. I have a good friends? I have a good circle of people that I speak to regularly, and sometimes it can just be literally just a little checking in, how are you doing, how are you feeling today, but I know there's people that I can be really honest with, and it's a nice exchange. And funny enough, we always find a moment when it's a bit of a seesaw. When I'm feeling really great, they might be feeling a bit low, and we can help each other balance out, which is such a beautiful thing.
And they have to be actors to understand your life a bit? Or?
Not necessarily. Most of them are, but I also have some people who have acting, but they have other strings to their bow, like they have their own business. One of my really good friends has her own beauty business, but she still does performing on the side. People do a lot of teaching. I have a friend that's also a massage therapist. Loads of different strings to the bow, which I think is so amazing. And it's interesting to tap in their experiences with their different jobs. And kind of just check myself, because sometimes the smallest thing can become like a huge problem in my head. And then when I speak to those people, I'm like, it's annoying.
Yeah. Do you think that's a thing with? I know that to be true for different types of creative people. But would you say, as actors, again, this is like almost a hazard of the profession, is that you do have to have lots of voices in your head, and so are you able to detach from thoughts easier, or is it harder?
It's hard. Some days it's really, really hard. I had a conversation about this while I was we've got physio here, in-house physio, which is amazing. And so I was in the room, and there was a couple of us there, and we were saying like, sometimes it's really difficult first thing in the morning, you're already worrying about how's my voice feeling today. It's such this concept, I think, that people feel like we come into the theatre and do a little warm up, and then we do the show and have a lovely time. But there's so much prep. It's different every day. It's like we were talking before, also when you're on your period, my voice is very different. It's so different at that time, But already first thing in the morning, sometimes you're like, oh my God, I have to check my voice. Is it there? Is it going to be okay? And then you have to remind yourself, going, just woken up. Of course it's not going to be feeling good now. Give yourself a few hours. It's trying to remain being kind to yourself.
It's kind of, I guess, the equivalent of, did I send that email? Did I respond to that person? All that, but it's almost a different kind of anxiety that you guys have, because you're relying on your physical instrument.
You cannot hide. You cannot hide. But then also it's just having that thing that I have to remind myself sometimes when I'm feeling really tired, or things might not be feeling on form, that it's live theatre. Sometimes even when you're feeling your best, things go wrong. Or
how do you deal with that? Oh my God!
Sometimes it's so hard. Sometimes it's really, really difficult. But you just have to let it go, because the show's continuing, right?
Yeah,
life is continuing.
Right.
Yeah. This one little moment in the show is gone now.
It's gone now, and the audience couldn't care less.
they don't know the show like you do. So you're the only one, and like you're your biggest critic.
Yeah, and we're literally
well.
there to have a good time.
Exactly.
I was treated to go see Tina Turner this year. I wouldn't know if I was in my own world.
Yeah, exactly. And even the best of the best would have moments, I'm sure, when they've been on stage and voice is not up to scratch or whatever. You know, people don't care. You know, they've come to see the whole thing, the experience, and it's also about who they've come to the theatre with as well sometimes. Or, you know, they're going through such a bad time. You're there to uplift them.
Yes.
And, you know, like, I could give you an example of something really, like, I really got down on myself recently. We were really down on girls, because sometimes that happens, you know, a lot of injuries occur or illnesses and people on holiday. Dances in the show happens quite often. So I was playing Arabia, but I also had to do bits of my own track to kind of help out fill some holes, which I've done a couple of times before. But for whatever reason that day, my head was a little bit all over the place. I'd also had a week when I was chopping and changing almost every day different roles that I was doing, which again is part of my job, but you know, normally it doesn't happen as frequent as that, changing like on a daily basis. And yeah, I'm still a human being. So there was one point I was supposed to do a quick change and change to Dance Roxanne. And I remember there was one bit I had to do on stage beforehand. I'd already preempted because I had to change wig and stuff. So I was taking some pins out to preempt the quick change. So I knew. And I went on stage and I did my little bit as Arabia. And for whatever reason, I came off, I went into autopilot. Arabia now goes to the other side of the stage and does the change down. I went all the way to the other side of stage, and then I went, I'm not supposed to be here, I'm supposed to do a quick change. I had a complete panic. I tried to run over to where I was supposed to do a quick change. I didn't make it. I felt like the world was going to, like the whole thing was going to swallow me up. I felt so
like you messed up.
Because I completely messed up. I was like, oh my God.
But nobody heard you, right?
No, it wasn't going to be anything important to the point. It's not like anything that I had to say or do. I just something I had to go and dance, but obviously I had to go and meet a partner that I was supposed to dance with. So I was thinking, what if they go on stage and I'm like, where's Melissa? And then they have a moment, you know, and it messes up for everybody. Yeah. But luckily everyone is so aware.
Yes, that can happen.
Wrong. If anything, they thought, okay, maybe something's wrong with Melissa, maybe she's hurt herself.
Yeah.
Maybe she's
because you have to think like that as an actor, right?
And they covered it and it was fine. And it was not a big deal. But for me, because I'm such a, you know, in a way, my flaw is a perfectionist flaw. Yeah. And because I
feel so bad for anybody who says they're perfectionist, honestly.
It's horrible, isn't it? It's like a blessing and a curse having this thing, you know, and like
you tear yourself up over something that's so not important.
Exactly. And because you build up a reputation of being someone that's so reliable.
Yes.
And can chop and change and mould and do all these things and help keep the show going. And in that one moment I felt like I let everyone down.
But can I tell people react to, you know, one of my worst people that I don't like is somebody who recognizes someone has messed up and then kind of takes pleasure in that and makes it public. I can't stand people like that.
No, luckily, as I said, we were such a good team here. And if anything, everyone was just concerned, just like, are you okay? Is everything all right? And then when I realised how much of a panic I was in, like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's so important to me. It's such a thing for me that I actually teach my daughter in every way, cover for people. From a young age, I've just always loved that. People who do that for each other.
Yeah. And what was really beautiful was like one of my superiors, our dance captain, went, you know what? It was a moment when I went, great, Melissa's still a human being.
Oh,
because it's like, because you never do anything wrong.
Oh, which is true.
And it's like, I'm surprised it hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
And now it's happened. It probably will never happen again. But we're all human.
We're all human. It's amazing, honestly, that you guys have an environment like that. I tell people all the time, my best jobs that I'll never forget, it doesn't matter. Like there was a job I had as a receptionist. It didn't matter. What mattered was the team. The team that you had, the fact that you guys have that in acting, I always thought it was the opposite.
Yeah, because it's that thing of like, I think it's just taking that moment. You know, sometimes it's funny as well, of course. Some people would have found it funny, like, oh, what's going on? Oh. You know, but it's also having that moment like, it could happen to any of us. at one point.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
I like to think of this as like in 5 years' time, I'll see you in something spectacular,
Right,
and
okay.
I'll say, "Oh, she said she wanted to manifest us right here."
Oh my gosh, you know what would be the dream?
Yeah,
For the midwife.
really, that's my sister's favorite show.
Oh my god, I love this show. I want to be in it so badly.
Wow, is it still being?
Yeah,
filmed?
it's still being filmed. It's been going on for years and years and years.
We're putting that out there.
Yes,
Call the midwife.
or Bridgerton.
Yeah, Bridgerton.
I'm ready when you're ready.
You know what? I see you in Bridgerton.
But yes, I feel like I have, I kind of have that look. Period drama, and I look great in a corset. We know that already.
Yes, I mean from Moulin Rouge, it's just almost a natural progression, right?
Yeah, natural progression.
Yeah.
But I also would like to, learn more things of myself, different parts of myself, different parts of the industry. Maybe I think there's always stuff that maybe it's funny you say that, because that's actually a thought that's come into my mind recently.
Yeah,
because I love like script analysis, and now I'm feeling more empowered about questioning things and looking at stuff and go, how amazing would it be to maybe be on that side and help someone see things in a different way and see like how that can evolve, like kind of step
just make the best directors, right?
Yes, totally.
Because you're like an actor's director. Someone was saying that, actually. I was reading about White Lotus. The director, I think he's also an actor. And they were saying the actors love working with him because he knows what it's like to be an actor. Whereas if it's just a director, it's just...
And there could be that thing like, why don't we get it? And actually you're just like, no, all you need to do is maybe just sit and have a conversation. And actually...
Steve McQueen, right, would be amazing.
Yeah. Or, when you get directors that literally like, there's some directors I worked with that are really amazing. Like, and actually I was talking about this the other day. I don't think you mind mentioning him. Daniel Evans, who was Associate Director of Chichester Festival Theatre. He's now moved on to bigger things. He's done stuff at the National. He's amazing. Also was an actor way back when. And I remember when I was doing South Pacific, and this was the first show I was doing out of the pandemic for the summer. And I had a minor role. I literally had one line in the scene. And he made me come into the rehearsal with the two leads and sit there with them for my one line in the scene. And he asked me, what did I think? He asked me, like, why was I there? What did I think was happening? And you go, wow, someone's actually made me feel that I had importance for this one little line in a whole big chunk of a story. And I was like, it made such
a lot of times directors will see that, right? Because for them, it's one of those things, like, a lot of times, right, you watch a movie, you don't know who stays with you longer. Sometimes it's not even just the lead. Sometimes it's something you see as support act who is maybe just a scared person in the bank that was being robbed. But for some reason, they stayed with you. And then you notice that person in another time, you go see them in another movie and another movie. You're like, I knew this person had something.
Yeah.
How do you capture that presence in your role? You're constantly having to be present, give your all to something that you know is not going to last. How do you stay in this while planning for something else?
It's really, really difficult, because it's that thing of like, as much as you want to be thinking about what's next and what's going ahead, it's also reminding yourself it's good to stay present.
Yes. And enjoy it.
Yes, and that's the beauty of live theatre. It's going to be different. Every show's going to be different. I challenge myself a lot of the times.
Right.
To just be like, do something different. And it's amazing. Sometimes the parts when you don't have much to say are almost harder. And that's when you have to try even harder, I think.
To stay present.
Yeah. And just to go, okay, but my presence in the scene, I might not be saying anything, but it's still important. Right. Just having that moment of going, okay, so why am I there? What is my role? Even though I don't speak, what is my role in this moment? Like, especially a big show like this, of course, we have our amazing leads and they're wonderful and we love them. And, like, people come back to see certain people and things like that. But without the whole element of the can-can dancers and the guys, all the dancing, and it creates the whole atmosphere.
You know something? Yeah. I went to see MJ the Musical not MJ the Musical. Oh my God, what am I saying? Thriller.
Yes,
Thriller twice. That's the only show I think I paid twice to see, maybe even 3 times. There was a dancer who captivated me more than anybody who was playing MJ, or she wasn't a lead dancer. Mm-hmm. She was just in the background. Till today, I can't stop thinking about her. Yeah. I wish I knew her name so I could interview her.
Which is amazing, right?
She's just captivating.
Mm-hmm. It's just like an energy that you give. An energy that you give out. And one of the things that I think is so beautiful about the show, and people have said a lot, is that it's very ensemble piece. And like you can see that everyone loves to dance with each other, everyone loves being on stage together, and that brings the energy up a whole new level.
Yes,
when it feels like everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, how do you give that though? Because like someone's had a bad day. How do you
gotta turn it around. Maybe put on a really uplifting song for.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
so you have your pre-ritual.
Oh yeah.
Pre-theater.
Yeah. Sometimes I have ridiculous rituals for stuff, but you might find something that you've done and you go, and then it was a really great show, and you're like, I'm going to do that every show, which sometimes can be really bad to get into those things.
Yeah, but then it becomes routine again.
Yeah.
Okay. But can you share some things that you do, or do you want to keep it a secret?
No, it could be silly things. Like for example, with my Luduka boots, we all have Luduka boots, which are amazing to dance in. The way I tie them, I tie my laces 3 times. I do 3 knots because I'm worried about them coming undone. I don't know why. Just 3 times. So I have to have it done 3 times. If I'm on for Arabia, there's certain parts that you have to sing that's really high. So I go for a whole vocal thing with a vocal straw, and I just practice that thing and like once, twice, done. Not too much, otherwise I'll tire myself out. But I just need to practice it, just be like, it's there. Yeah. And just to engage my body and go, okay, we know what we have to do today.
And do you pick that up, or do you did somebody teach you in theatre
school? No, it's something that
you
just kind of pick up, or maybe sometimes it's something that you've seen someone do, and you go, oh, you know what, I'm going to try that.
And then
and you're like, oh, you know what, that actually works for me. It's like silly little things as well. Like I, always trying to stretch still, but side of the stage, no matter which role I'm doing, I might do things like mountain climbers. It's my new thing I've done at the moment. I do 50 mountain climbers.
So what does that help with?
Just to get my core engaged.
Okay.
Because sometimes we do
warm up. Mountain climbers. If I'm going to get some core, look at this core right here.
It's silly things like our whole setup for the show. Like we start warm up for evening show at 5:45. And we have 15 minutes physical, 15 minutes vocal, and then we do lift call because there's lots of lifts in the show, and especially if people have been on with different people, we need to practice stuff. And then we go into makeup and wigs, blah blah blah. And then the show doesn't start until 7:30. That's quite a long time. So when you think you've done some physical stuff on stage, and then you've probably finished at about 6:15, and then you don't move again physically in the space until 7:30, it's hard to keep yourself and your body geared up for what's coming.
Yeah.
So I find just doing something as simple as mountain climbers, sometimes people think I'm crazy. I don't care.
And stretching.
Yeah, and stretching. Certain things, because I know we do a lot of kicks in the show.
So you have to constantly stay physically active, right?
You have to keep your body going.
But you're doing how many shows a week?
8 shows a week. 8 shows a week.
So you don't get really time off. Do you have 2 days?
We have 1 day off. Sunday is our day off. 1 day off a week, which is why it's so important to
how long? 6 months at a time? 8 months at a time?
Year contracts we have.
Wow, a year, 6 day weeks.
So
that's physical.
It's a lot of commitment.
Okay, now that explains it.
Yeah, and that's why it's so good to practice a lot of self-care and mindfulness, I think.
I feel good if I do 1 reform of the artist a week. I'm like, I am so fit.
But it's part of our job, Part of our job is to keep show fit, whatever that is. And everyone, if you speak to everyone here, I'm sure they all have their different things that they do.
Yeah. Wow, amazing. So, what other West End shows would you like to?
I like to do. Ooh, I find that
you've done almost everything. She's been in Aladdin. You've been in The Lion King. Like, I was looking at your list and I was thinking.
Well, as I said, you know, I'm in my late 30s, and I'm not ashamed to say I just turned 38 in August.
This is how you want to look when you're 38, to be honest.
And I'm still going, so I pat myself on the back here every day. I'm still going, especially doing such a physical show like this. But yeah, it's really difficult at the moment. I'm not quite sure. There isn't really a show out there.
Yeah.
That is
calling out
to what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You're here still for quite a while. Like, it's September?
Mid-October.
Mid-October. Yeah. So you're still there.
Yes.
6 days.
And not necessarily, my journey with the show is not necessarily finished yet.
No, yeah.
But that hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you want to stay on?
No. It hasn't been announced yet.
Yes. Okay. I can hold up. We can announce it. We can announce it when they announce it.
Yeah. I will say, I won't necessarily say, but I will be continuing my journey with the show, but in a different capacity.
Oh, I'm excited.
Which is really lovely, because I feel like we're going into year 3, but each year that I've been here, my responsibilities have been completely different. Each year has been.
So it's never boring.
Never boring. It's been such an experience for me. I've learnt a lot about myself as a person, as well as an artist, and it's pushed me. I've achieved some things that I didn't think I could achieve.
Yeah.
So
everyone, honestly, this show sells itself. To be honest, like a lot of other shows I'm passionate about, I'm like, I'm gonna get ticket sales for this show. But everyone I've spoken to has said, I've seen it 3 times, I've seen it 4 times, I've not seen it yet. So. Yeah, I think
so. We need to sort you out. You need to come.
I would love to. I have to come. This is just. Have you met Baz Luhrman yet?
Oh, yes.
Really?
He did make an appearance. I believe it was near the time that we were opening originally, and he did come this year as well at some point. Yeah, he's made an appearance a couple of times.
Yeah, he seems very hands-on and just passionate.
Yeah, he's very passionate. Yeah, and always makes a thing of letting it be known that he's around and wants to say hi to everyone, which is really lovely.
Oh, so this has been so amazing. I could talk to Melissa forever, and hopefully we'll stay in touch. And throughout your career, we'll all be rooting for you and seeing if you go on Bridgerton or any of other, our screen. I'm sure you'll be gracing us. Screen, maybe call a midwife. So Moulin Rouge literally sells itself. Everyone I know has come to see it 2, 3, 4 times. It's one of those shows. It's on, I think, for the foreseeable future.
For the foreseeable, yes.
Yeah. So make time in the autumn, in the winter. It doesn't matter. You can come anytime to see Moulin.